Well, welcome back and welcome to another edition of Email Never Sleeps. We're here at iPost. We interview some amazingly smart people and some incredible thought leaders in our industry. And I'm absolutely honored to introduce you guys to Jen Swafford today. She's the National Accounts Manager at Vertex Communication Group out in Maryland. She's been there for a while. So everybody say hi to Jen. Hey, Jen, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
So I've been in the email space for 20 years, starting this summer.
Wow.
I started working for Vertex for free because I wanted to stop teaching. So here I am. And 20 years later, I'm spending a lot of time with associations and publishers and healthcare, helping build teams to get emails out the door.
Yeah, it's funny when we start thinking about how long both you and I have been in the industry, right? It's like it keeps sucking us back in, right? Because you don't meet a lot of people who are like, I haven't been in email marketing for 20 years or 18 years, right? I mean, I call ourselves, well, I wouldn't say you, but me specifically, I'm the old dog in the industry, right? We've been around for a while. We've seen it all. So today's topic, and I'm so glad you chose this topic, Jen, is how to greatly improve your email production process, which, you know, it's not the sexiest thing, but guess what? It's really, really important. So let's talk a little bit about what some of the areas that being as seasoned as you are around email production and how to gain, improvements in it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I 100% believe that it takes a village to raise an email. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but we believe it takes a lot of teams. We're like the modern printing press of content. We have to send emails out, very regularly for our teams. Yeah. And in my belief, I don't think it should be the responsibility of one person either for your team. Mm-hmm. For us, we have a really deep team. We have we say we have a rule. We got 15 minutes to solve a problem. Yeah. And if you don't know how to solve, can't fix it, ask a team member, because I guarantee you got one who can help you.
So you hear a lot of talk about production processes in itself. And I'm sure you've seen it, and I've seen it in the industry. Sometimes the process to get an email out the door often feels rushed, right? And I've heard stuff around, sometimes it can take us 2 days to get an email out the door, and that's unacceptable. And then you hear somebody say, I've got a 5-week process from beginning to end, right? Is there a sweet spot that you've seen over the years from a production process, or does it just really vary?
I think it does vary. I think, our goal is 3 to 5 days for a process. If you're doing a large campaign that has a lot of pieces to it, yeah, it's going to take more time. Mm-hmm. I think that we find that 99% of the time, if there's an error in an email or something goes out, it's because we're rushing at the end of the day or trying to get something out the door too fast.
What are some of the areas that you see in the production process right now that are often overlooked and areas that can be improved? Are there like 1 or 2 things that consistently happen that you think need improvement?
That's an interesting question. I think that consistently folks don't put all their content together first. Okay. They don't make a decision and kind of put all that pieces together. And then there's a lot of cooks at the kitchen at the end, mm-hmm. when we really should be pulling that tail out farther and using, getting input from all those folks at the beginning.
And is it more copy, or is it messaging? Is it tone, or is it like a combination of everything?
Well, again, back to the village, you have to have, and that's so having like a branding guide and a tone that is set by that branding guide. It really is I'm an out of the box kind of person. I don't think we should put everything in little boxes, But
Yeah.
I'll tell you in emails, if we make like a template or something that can be used, that puts things in boxes,
Yeah.
it helps copy and tone and everything kind of follow in.
And, back in my agency days, one of the biggest things was around QA of the actual email, right? Whether it was a templated email, whether it was link checking or things of that nature. When you start thinking about the process in itself, talk to me a little bit about QA and who does QA and who should really do QA.
This is a really awesome question. I'm so glad you asked it. Because I met with my team yesterday. I knew I was going to speak with you today, and I met with my team yesterday. And I was like, they are amazing.
Yeah.
And so I asked them, I was like, what is it, that makes you so amazing, to work with? I really appreciate it. And one of the things that we came up with was for every single one of our clients, we have a QA checklist that is very specific for that client.
Ooh,
We have
okay.
rules around if I set up an email, I cannot QA it. I can't be that close to a message. It has to, change. And so those are two really important parts of QA. And, for us,
And
it's Kathy on our team who used to work with a lot of kids. So she's got good English and grammar.
It's funny. I've hired a lot of QA people, and that sort of was the stepping stone into email. And we used to love, whenever I would ask an interview question, right? I used to love to hire people who'd be like, I like finding errors in books or in movie scripts, or that attention to detail where they love to figure out stuff. And we felt those were the best QA people that eventually turned into production people or solutions architects that eventually became those types of things. So I think it's really important not only to have that checklist, like you said, right, but to have the right people and the mentality to sort of to look at that. I call it counting the grains of sand as opposed to just looking at the entire umbrella. So this checklist, how long does it take to go through a checklist to QA this email, or does it depend?
Well, it depends. Some of our groups might have a double layer of QA. So, they need two checks from two different people. And other groups, it's not as extensive. We might have copy that we've already received from somebody. So it's already been well edited. It could take, 10 minutes to, if you have 30-minute checks for a QA, it could take up to, especially if it's pretty lengthy and has a lot of a lot of links.
So if I'm somebody who is newer to the industry, watching this vidcast between you and they said to themselves, I kind of don't have a process right now. How would someone start? What's the best way for them to start? Because maybe they are sending emails with errors and they don't even know it, right? So tell me a little bit about how they would start.
Well, we create SOPs for everything. So a standard procedure. So we always, we get two folks to work together. Somebody shows them how to do it and we document it. And what that happens is we call that the beer bus buddy. So in case somebody walks out a door and accidentally gets hit by a beer bus, we have a buddy that's documented and knows exactly what they do and how to do it. Awesome. So I would say you start writing down your process and following your process, build out a timeline and make sure that you are communicating that timeline with everybody. Have some sort of calendar that everyone can see so they know when your emails are and when they're due. We use simple Google Sheets for a lot of our clients with checklists, but it kind of gets people out of the inbox, out of the mail back and forth, and more into like I can see a snapshot of where we are in the process.
Now, look, Vertex, and full disclosure, everybody, Vertex is a customer of iPost and we love them and hopefully they love us. I think we kind of have a mutual love for one another, but somebody would say, well, wait a second. And Jen, your agency side, I'm on the brand side. Why do I need a process? Why do I need a checklist? I mean, I don't deal with an agency. I just deal with internal people. What would you say to somebody that maybe is kind of a naysayer of this, of a process in and itself?
Um, uh, I would ask them how many times, I would ask you how many times an email goes out messed up or with a mistake, or somebody comes back to you with an error.
Yeah.
And you say email never sleeps. I love the sleep. I love my family time. I
Yeah.
love, like, I get my good 8-10 hours if I can. But if we don't have a process in place,
Mhm.
typically we're fixing something, or nobody knows the process and no one's following it.
Sure.
So let's leave at 5 o'clock, because we have that email that went out today, scheduled 2 days ago.
Right. Totally. And I'll add one thing on. I used to be client side many years ago. And let's be honest, even if I work brand side, even anything, I make a mistake on an email, I'm always been made aware of the mistakes that I made. Not of the person, not of like, hey, Andrew, great job on that email that just went to 30 million people. It's awesome. It's like, this link doesn't work. It's
This
your
link does,
fault.
yep,
What the hell is going on?
yeah.
Are you guys screwing up? So I think folks watching this, whether you're brand or agency or vendor or whatever, having a process in place to make sure the email is as perfect as it possibly can be, or is perfect, leaving the door, is really, really important, because that when an error is made, people love to point it out, whether it's out on the interwebs or whether it's internally or whatever. And so having this checklist, having people to look at this email. So I'm going to close on this final question, Jen. If you were to give advice right now to a young marketer around the importance of a production process, or a snippet or a tidbit based off of your 20 years of experience, and you had 35 or 40 seconds to give them this tidbit, right? About the importance of email and how you like to sleep, what would that be? Because I have my answer after you, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. I would say invest your time in communicating and building great teams, and
Mm-hmm.
in your people. I mean,
Yep.
being, and it, I wouldn't say we're rocket scientists here. I'm sorry,
Right.
but it's all about who we work with, and being honest, and working hard, and have a good work ethic. So
I
that's the
would
advice I would get.
100% agree with you. And I'll add on to this, right? Um, when we are email marketers, we tend to think of our subscribers as numbers, right? Or somebody that has or has not engaged or clicked or opened or converted in an email. What we have to look at is that audience as a whole. Every time we send an email out the door, it's reflective of our brand. Now, whether or not we care for, like our brand, or dislike our brand, we have to be the steward, the craft maker of the brand that we represent as an email marketer. So whether you're an agency doing work like Vertex does for your wonderful clients, whether you are an individual, that's reflective on you. And so the way I look at it is, yeah, I mean, everyone's going to make mistakes. I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes. But the importance, like you said, is not only having a great team, but taking pride to say, when I push an email out the door, guess what? I'm putting my stamp of approval, however hard it was to get there, that when it lands in that person's inbox, it is as free of errors as you can possibly be. And I'll say this, some of you may be watching this kind of doing the eye roll, like, oh, whatever, but I can guarantee you and I have been in the trenches and we've seen it. And it does bring you down when something goes wrong, because you care. You care about your customers at Vertex. I care about our customers here at iPost. I cared about email for so long. And we want to make sure that we're not lumped in together with the bad stuff that happens in email. And so having a solidified production process works really well. Any closing thoughts before we jump?
No, but thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. And for those of you that want to find Jen on LinkedIn, she goes by Jennifer Swafford, Vertex Communications Group. Wonderful to have you. Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate your time today. Thanks again, everybody.